And climate change is topping the bill in the crowded field vying for the new 10th Congressional District that includes Lower Manhattan and parts of Brooklyn. The News spoke with one of the candidates, Representative Mondaire Jones, last week. Today we hear from another candidate, Assemblymember Yulin Niu, who spoke on the redistricting process that created the district and the lack of transparency behind the destruction of a beloved park in the name of climate resiliency.
The way that it was redrawn after the draft, the finalized version, was very, very clear that they wanted to put communities that were similar in interest together. So resiliency issues, language access issues, immigration issues, etc. These are all things that these districts have in common.
Now, one of your opponents says that she's never seen a project that she says will bring jobs into the community that she's turned down. We're talking now on 14th Street, the tech building that was under construction there right now as we speak, and this huge, very unpopular project for many people along the East River, the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project. What do you say to this idea that we've never seen a project that brought jobs to our community that we've turned down?
Community input into the projects that affect our community have a lot of value, and I think that a lot of times our community should be able to understand like some of the ins and outs of what's needed in the area, and their input is very valuable when it comes to the issues that are surrounding the areas that are being talked about or be developed or changed in some way. And for example, if a neighborhood had experienced the flooding or the effects of Hurricane Sandy, like if you were trapped in your building and it was a high rise and you couldn't get down with no elevators, etc., there's a lot of different experiences that you had that are relevant to the discussions on coastal resiliency. And I think that it's really important that we are hearing those things. My district is obviously one that had experienced 9/11, Hurricane Sandy. A lot of the different weather events is also the district with the least amount of green space and a huge need for affordable and deeply affordable housing. It's really important that we are talking a lot about how we are going to make sure that our constituents' voices are heard by the city. And, oftentimes the city's process is opaque and not accessible to constituents. And sometimes constituent input is completely ignored. And so I think that it's really important to make sure that we are inserting our community input into a lot of the different processes that the city has. And again, I've never been a city council member, but I do think that it's really important for us to make sure that we are always looking at community input.
If you were elected, would you slow down or stop this project right now?
There was a lot of non-transparency from the city and the handling. I don't think that anybody would disagree that the city handled things in a way that kind of trampled on constituent concerns. One of the things that I would actually ask is that the city actually also remember that the state has a parks alienation requirement, so that people have to go through a parks alienation vote. It's often not very hard. It's just really about making sure that there's another oversight of what's happening within the project, and it gives an ability for a public hearing or input from the public on the state level. That's one of the things that I had a lot of concern about, because the city actually skirted the parks alienation vote on the state level, and I think that that's something that we should have had on the state level and be privy to having the oversight of the state on the city level.
January 6 hearings are coming up. I think maybe that's one of the most important issues facing any member of Congress. Former President Trump, who the FBI raided yesterday, it seems.
We watched as domestic terrorism happened to our own capital. This is not a small thing. This is a really, really dire and frightening thing. We watched as our own president was committing treason. One should be afraid of what's going to happen without consequences to him if we don't hold him responsible for the things that he did. We definitely should be watching out. Very dangerous to our democracy. He's been dangerous to our safety, and he's spawned on incredible amounts of hatred and violence. This is something that our country needs to be watching every single day.
Should President Trump be prosecuted?
I believe that he needs to be prosecuted for his crimes, yes.
Assemblymember Yulin Niu is a candidate for the 10th Congressional District. The primary is August 23rd.